Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Blue. I'm back streaming again. We're back, baby. And we're going to get into some market talks. We got anyone in here? Don't want to comment. Let me know you're here. Let me know you're vibing this morning with me. Let me know what's going on. And as usual, if I'm too loud, the music's too loud, don't want to comment. Let me know. Like, hey, you are vibing way too hard right now. But if anyone's in here, let's get into some market talks, guys. I want to get into where we're at, where we came from, and then do a little bit of that bottom-up analysis that we did last week. Unfortunately, guys, after the live stream last week, I was doing some private live streams on the channel to mess with the volumes. I was doing some streams and then seeing where the volumes were at and then rewatching them and then just deleting them as, private streams. And I accidentally, in the midst of that, deleted last week's stream like a dummy. And it even has the alert that's like, hey, this is a permanent delete. Make sure you know what you're doing. And I'm like, I'm an adult, okay? I don't need a notification to let me know when I'm about to delete content. I know what I'm doing. And yeah, I accidentally deleted the actual live stream, not the practice ones to mess with the volume. So unfortunately, that's a goner forever. But let's get back into it, and we'll just go over some of the stuff that we went over last week. Not too much has changed other than this nice short that we got in here, and we'll kind of talk about some of that, guys. But let's back it up a little bit and see where we're at, okay? So last week's stream, guys, was essentially right after this move down, okay? And we had this large, impulsive move down. And off that level, guys, what we were really looking for, okay, was we had this previous range, okay? And let me get this pulled up, okay? I know it gets a little convoluted, but we had a previous range here, okay? Break of structure, we had this new range. And essentially what we were looking for off internal structure right here, an internal shift, an internal change of character, we were potentially looking at it coming down here, finding footing at the low of this range, and then potentially coming back up to test the high of the range, if not potentially break these highs, and then maybe we're off and running. However, guys, that did not happen. And if we pull this out to a 4 hour, it looks a little bit more clean. What we then have is now 4 hour break of structure into a new break of structure right here where we were initially looking for footing off this previous range, okay, looking for footing here. We now have a new break of structure, which now created a new range for us, okay? At least down here on these low hourly time frames, guys, okay? And once we did that, I knew that, okay, we have this new range form break of structure still in a downtrending market on these hourly time frames and this, lower time frames as we come down into this wick low that we initially created. And that's where I had this short set up for y'all live on Twitter, okay? We created a break of structure. What we're looking for is price to come back into the extreme level of supply. Optimally, it gets at least into optimal trade entry, optimal point of interest right here, this green box, which it did. And how I refined this entry is I actually went into some of these lower time frames for y'all and just kind of sniped an absolute entry for y'all right about schmear. So right around this area is where I pulled this entry from. Wada bang. And it was a good entry, okay? And that is what led me into this current position of where price action is at. And I actually pulled that up. If you're not on the Twitter, get on the Twitter. This was posted live. This is how I post all my trades live, guys. Okay, so nothing's hindsight. This is all real-time trading, okay? I posted this in the red. It stayed in the red. It went a little bit more in the red. We even had a little spike up. So oftentimes for my post, guys, you're actually often able to get an even better entry than I am. Okay, and this has already hit 3 levels of profit there. So like I said, everything I post on Twitter is all real-time live action. It's the same stuff that I had previously posted in the OG days on the Discord. Maybe I'll fire that up again one day as a free thing, but who knows. But yeah, if you're not following, get on the Twitter, guys. That's where all the live trading happens if we're not doing it on the live stream. But let's look at where price action's at now, guys. So we came up, we've now tested the range high, the extreme supply off this previous break of structure. Let's pump her out just a little bit. Break of structure, set a new range low, right? Had this nice pump up, aggressive price action, aggressive move up, but all it did was just send us to the range high, right? Into extreme supply of this current range, okay? And since it's all the way back down to extreme demand of the range. And now, over the past, let's get into a little bit of internal price action here, guys. And now over essentially the weekend, we've just been diddling in the middle. You don't really like to diddle in the middle, okay? Don't be a middle diddler, all right? Right now we're diddling in the middle of this range, okay? We're at mid-range, okay? Fair price of this current range, right? And you can see kind of some sideways choppy action going on. If you've been trading over the weekend, you probably got a little bit frustrated with this if you weren't already in an entry like this where you could just kind of ride through it. If you're trying to trade this, you maybe got a little bit frustrated with it. But let's look at where we're at right now. Okay, internal break of structure, internal change of character, another internal break of structure, another internal change of character, guys. So really what you're looking at here is that this move, right, where the overall trend, if you go up to a 4 hour, is downtrending, okay, coming into this wick low, downtrending, right? Okay, so again, the overarching theme here is trending down, and that's what I've been preaching since back here, okay? Since back in this price action, we stay below this high, we're suppressing price down. We're gonna keep suppressing price down until the range and the market structure no longer allows for it. Until we see something that says otherwise, we're gonna keep suppressing price down, right? So anytime it comes back into that range extreme, I'm just looking to suppress price until it doesn't work anymore. And I think I've had 4 or 5 short setups for y'all, as far as shorts up here, short setup right here, another short setup right here. I think I've hit 3 of them. Got stopped on one of them this wick, was in right here, got stopped on that wick, got in again, and I missed this one. So it's been fruitful, right? Just keep suppressing price at range extreme until it doesn't prove fruitful. I mean, it's pretty simple. And that's been my theory here that's ongoing. But essentially what I'm trying to explain to y'all here on this lower time frame, guys, is that once we got this move down, okay, there's gonna be a little relief, especially coming into extreme demand here, and you have this nice little indecision demand level with imbalance leading into it. Okay, that was hit, it was cleared out. Where would you expect this move to go to? I'll show y'all. Okay, essentially what you're operating off of is that internal change of character right here, an internal price action, internal within this range, which is really also just internal, but stick with me here. Okay, so where would we expect this relief bounce, this rally off this demand to come to? Optimal point of interest, optimal trade entry, right? This green box right here. You would expect it to come into that. And then once it did, you would look for another, again, lower time frame, internal. Well, let me just get into it instead of marking up new stuff for y'all, because I already have it marked for you. I already got old girl marked up. Okay. Then once you have that internal change of character, okay, this is internal now with an internal price action, then you would look for price again to come back into, after making its low, not right here, after the internal change of character happened, made its low, you would look for it to come back into optimal entry. Again, this is all fractal, guys. This is all fractal, okay? Back into entry and send it back lower. Y'all see that? We just went from 4 hour to 1 hour to 15-minute time frame, just pinpointing an entry for y'all. So if you were trading this internal weekend price action, which is essentially, if we go back out again, guys, this was just, if you're looking at it on 2 hour or 4 hours, so it's kind of internal mid-range chop here. Okay. Oh, getting crazy, y'all. Dude, we're only 25 minutes in, and y'all are letting me get crazy over here. Goodness gracious. Okay. Internal price action, right? mid-range price action, fair price of what our current range is on the low hourlies, 1 to 4 hour-ish time frame, right? Okay, but within this range you have internal price action. Okay, off this internal leg, price, where would we expect price to relieve to if it was not going to just break out of this range and then turn bullish, right? And we're going to get into that. Stick with me. We're going to get into that. Stick with me here. Just explaining this. Okay, this is fractal. Okay, where would you expect this move to come to? Optimal entry, optimal point of interest. Okay, now we have that. Let's zoom her in. Enhance. Okay, now, okay, you got the touch of here. Okay, now you're looking for what I would call standard confirmation, internal change of character, right? We're getting that shift in market structure, right? This kind of faked out some people off this little shifterooski right here. This isn't anything. Okay, this isn't anything. This is like inducement right here. If you saw this candle close below this, people probably shorted that right there, breakout, sell orders came in right here and then ripped those stop losses, and then the actual move came, right? But that's not this isn't your entry. This isn't your trigger right here. Okay, once you got the internal change of character, then where would you expect it to come back to? Back into optimal trade entry. That's your entry right there. So if you're looking to trade weekend price action, that is what you should have been looking to do. And your first target would have been this low, which it's about to hit. And then your second, you could have tried to fully target this. And all that is, guys, everything I just laid out for you right there, all that is just a continuation entry off this larger trade that we already have. Y'all see that? This whole thing is fractal. You can use this on a 1 minute, 10 minute, 15 minute, 1 month chart, a 1 week chart, a 1 day chart. Okay, it's all fractal. Okay, it's like, have you seen like Horton Hears a Who, where he's like, zooms in and zooms in and zooms in. It's all, it just keeps getting more and more and more. It's what it is. Okay, it's all the same on every single time frame, guys. And all that is that I just laid out for y'all is just a pinpoint entry, right? Continuation entry off this larger trade, right? Yes, you're still diddling in the middle here, but if you're going to trade and diddle in the middle, that is how you do that. Okay, and like I said, it's already about to hit what would be the first target, and that would have been a 3R trade, just the first target itself. That's a 3.13 trade, 3 times the amount of money you're willing to risk, and that would be your final target. But let's move on from that. Okay, let's move on from that. So what are we looking at now? Okay, so essentially what we had is price come back into extreme demand, okay, and react. And now it's, coming back down. But what this reaction is telling me is that the level of, let me put it into a 1 hour. The level of demand here that I already outlined for y'all, right, off this candle, where we had this nice liquidity sweep that essentially just exploded price up. If there was still strength in here, ultimately you would have wanted to see this break, come up and start breaking these highs and break out of this range. Okay, now what you would be hopeful of is that, again, yes, if you reverse this and you're looking at like a 30-minute chart, you also have an internal change of character on this side, right? So if you're bullish down here, right, and maybe you had an entry down here, and you haven't taken any profits, essentially what you'd be looking at is if this level is going to prove fruitful and is going to prove as, some higher time frame demand that can break us out of this range. And I'm about to talk about where we could go. I've already discussed this before on previous streams, but we're going to hit it again. Okay. What we would be looking for is the same exact thing. Okay. Internal change of character. Internal. Remember, guys, internal. So after you have that internal change of character, where would we be looking price to come back into? This optimal trade entry, optimal point of interest right here. And what sticks out to me right away, at least on this 1 hourly time frame, is this imbalance and that level of demand. So if I were bullish or looking to take a long, I would be eyeing that area right here. Okay. However, guys, you don't necessarily want to be taking longs in a downtrending market, right? You're not looking for reversal longs, right? That would be taking a long reversal off internal price action, right? This internal change of character, coming back in and buying demand is not the change of character that we want to see in the market to prove as a reversal down here. What we want to see down here, guys, it would be this change of character where this is currently our protected high right now. Okay. This is our protected high. Okay. Which is why when I posted this trade, this previous trade on Twitter, so I said this is the last line of defense up here. Okay. If this fails, then any more short thesis is essentially done, barring a wick and a quick, return back in without a closure up here. Okay. But when I posted this, this is, it's either a short's going to work again or we're now bullish and we're going to, come up and start testing these numbers we're about to talk about. Okay. So we wouldn't necessarily want to take an internal change of character shift and expect that to produce the bullish reaction. I hope that makes sense. Okay. What we would be looking for and what we would want to see is this kind of change of character before we had any type of confirmed price action, right? Okay. Once we have that change of character, this protected high now turns into your higher time frame, at least on the hourly 1, 2, 3, 4 hourly time frame change of character right here. Okay. Then off of that, you would be looking to come back into your optimal entry, and then you would want to take it up higher. That's what you would be looking for, okay? What happens to people is they come on down on these lower time frames, okay? And they get these internal changes of character, and they expect that to take them to external levels. Okay, and it's not going to happen. Now, internally, could this work? Absolutely, okay? Like, I'm not saying that this level wouldn't work. It absolutely could. This could be forming a bottom, but you can't trust it as being that in a concurrently downtrending, overarching downtrending market. Does that make sense, guys? What you're looking for in an overarching downtrending market is to take continuation shorts, right? Not to try to capture the bounces. This could be a bounce, right? It comes back down here and bounces off this level. Then yeah, you could get a bounce that just takes you back internally, potentially, but I wouldn't want to necessarily trust that, right? I would rather be in the boat of it bounces up and I look to short it again rather than hoping that these long bounces work out, right? Because in other words, we could just keep on coming down here. And actually what I'm really looking for is this 15-minute demand here. I'm interested in what happens if or when we get down here, guys. Okay. But that's essentially what we're looking at on price action right now. Realistically, it's just kind of mid-range price action, kind of sideways chop. But we did discuss exactly how you could have gotten an entry off of this internal middle diddler price action. We just went over that, which is essentially all just a setup off a continuation off this overarching trade, right? Let's get into our bottom-up analysis, okay? Shall we? Okay, essentially on the hourly time frames, we just discussed this. This is essentially the same exact chart, just on a overlaid on a different chart. Okay, we break out of this high. Okay, essentially 71K with a closure. I would say on the 1 hourly, it looks good. But again, like we just discussed, guys, okay, we break the protected high. Again, I'm showing you the same thing. I just have different things on this chart for y'all. We break out of that protected high. That's not your trigger necessarily for a short, or sorry, for a long. Breaking this and closing above it right here, that's not your long trigger. Okay. Could price break out, close right here, and then just keep continuing up to that 74 to 80K level? It could, and it just leaves you behind. But optimally, what you'd be looking for is to do that, and then you could come in and take a long here, okay? Let's look at this, okay? We break above this high with a closure on the 1 hourly. Essentially, what I am looking at above 71K is that we are now going to test the 4 hour protected high. This is currently the 1 hour protected high at essentially 1K, right? Break of structure here. This was our previously protected high. Break of structure here. This is now our protected high. Current protected high, we break above that. Essentially, we could come up to 74K. We could push all the way up to the 80K level, up to the 4 hour protected high. Okay, 4 hour, ish, 3 to 6 hour ish level. Okay, where we had a previous break of structure, and then this is all just impulsive leg. Okay, and I talked about this on the live stream. If you were able to get in the 24 hours before I was a doofus and deleted it, my gosh. Okay. But essentially what I'm looking at is that, guys, as long as we are below this, again, just continue price suppression. And I've been saying that since back here. Below this level is just price suppression. Below this level, price suppression. Below this level, it's just price suppression. And now, essentially here, below this level, price suppression, because we come up and break this high right here. That is essentially a precursor to this breaking, right? This right here, from here, well, let me actually rephrase that. Typically it would be, but we actually do have a little bit of imbalance right here. Do y'all see that? Where I would typically say that from here to here would be clean traffic because there is no further imbalance. This is all efficient price action and efficient auction within the market. However, that is not true here. And what is actually kind of interesting up here is that we have equal highs, which typically get either ran through or swept. Another level of imbalance leading into a higher level of supply at the very tippity top of this range. So it is a little bit interesting up here. So who knows what could happen down here. Maybe it does sweep, but if it doesn't sweep, if it were to come back up here, hit the top of this, people think it's going to break out and then, sends it lower. It'll be interesting to see what this kind of produces. So I am interested in that. I was going to say typically that this would be clean traffic from this high to the next high, but that is actually not the case where we currently stand. That is not clean traffic. However, if this does fail and we do come up and get a closure above here, from here, this high to this high is that clean traffic of what I was talking about, okay? Where anything in here is all efficient price action. There's no further level of imbalance, no further level of supply. If you really got, a microscope out and went into these wicks, yeah, you could probably find something on like the 5 minute or something, which, okay, yes, maybe it does hold you up, but I would imagine that there's gonna be enough pressure if this breaks that, essentially on these hourly looks, there's nothing withstanding here until you get up to about 74K and we get through this level and we could essentially be looking up to 80K. All right. Higher than that, we're looking at a daily time frame. Okay. And when you look at this on a daily chart, you can see what I'm talking about with that clean traffic. Okay. On a daily view, again, we're looking at hourly, but on a daily view, this is all clean, efficient price action. Clean traffic all the way up to 80K. I mean, all the way up there. Okay? There is no further level of imbalance. This is all efficient price action, all an efficient auction within the market. Okay? There is no imbalance within here. There's no outstanding level of supply within this. So on the hourlies, you can see how there could be a little bit of, action that's needed, a little bit of work. But on the daily view, this is all pretty clean. So that's why I'm saying, we break out of this, then yeah, we're going to come up to, 74, potentially all the way up to 80K. You have a little bit of level of supply here with imbalance and then a little smidgy right there. But outside of that, particularly when you look at it on the daily view, there's not much. Now let's go higher. Should the 4 hour protected high break, and again, guys, this is all just if this happens, then that. If this, then that, okay? Currently at the moment, obviously, we would have a lot of work to get to that point, right? Because we are currently, still kind of pressing down into what would be the demand level of our current range down here on the hourlies, guys. This is all just if this, then that happens, okay? If the 4 hour protected high were to break, again, this would just be like a 4 hour hourly type of view change of character, again, same thing. You come up, you get that change of character, right? And you're just looking to come back in to what would be, you know, your optimal level. Okay, same thing. A lot of price action to get before that. But if you look at it on a daily view, this is all nice, clean, efficient price action. It kind of makes for smooth sailing for price, at least on this daily view, right? We've talked about the daily versus the hourly view with that. When you get up here to the daily look, that's not quite the case, right? There's a lot of inefficiencies in here. There's a lot of sporadic levels of supply, particularly right here. This is kind of mid impulsive move. I wouldn't necessarily trust this level right here necessarily to be a huge stopper. More so this, and then you get even more, you know, coming up here. But the 1 hour protected high is all the way up nearly at 100K, just under 98K, right at 98 or so. Okay, so again, if this and that, if the 1 hour protected high were to break about 71, we could be looking to 74 to 80. If the 4 hour protected high right here at, you know, just under 80 were to break, then you could potentially be looking all the way up to 98K if price action were to put into some work to get through all this. This is going to be far more turbulence to get through this price action than it is to get through this price action. Okay, this was a lot of consolidation here. There's a lot of imbalance. There's a lot of levels of supply in here. Then this, which on a daily view is just kind of one large impulsive move with a lot of efficient price action, efficient trading, efficient price action right here, which makes for somewhat of a smooth sail once we were to get above this, because when you look at this on the daily view, once this high breaks, it's just a domino effect. This high breaks, it's clean for this one, it's clean for this one. It's just boom, 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 boom. And then it kind of just starts sailing through here because this is all efficient action. Okay, let's jump it up again. On the weekly view, okay, where are we at? We're already at 42 minutes streaming. Okay, my gosh. I didn't think I was going to go as long today. I thought I was just going to do a little quickie. But here we are at 42 minutes. I'll wrap it up soon. We don't need to go too crazy. On the 1 week view, guys, we had a 1 week change of character, and it's the same thing we talked about, right? The same thing we just talked about, the same exact thing on this hourly view that gave us this trade, right? This break of structure, bada bing, bada boom, come up here, pinpoint your entry, bada bing, you're going back down, okay? It's the same exact thing, right? Technically, on this 1 week view, if this low were to stand, then the essentially re-entry zone for a short would be all the way back up here in optimal trade entry. And I know you may be saying 101K to 112K. Are you insano? I'm not saying that that's what's about to happen necessarily, okay? But we just talked about how if this, then that on all these different levels, right? The 1 hour breaks, then okay, you're looking at the 4 hour. If the 4 hour breaks, then okay, you're looking at the daily. The daily breaks, then you're looking at this weekly change of character. And realistically, you know, it gets all the way back up here. Yeah, you have a ton of bullish action, but up here, yeah, you'd be looking to short again with the current view that we have. Now that is a ton of work, guys. That is a ton of work to get back up to that level. But we're doing a bottom-up analysis. We're going through everything from the hourly. We did all the way down to the minute charts. We just laid out an entry for y'all on the minute charts. Okay? And now we're just here at the weekly of what that pretty much entails. Okay? We've now come in. This wick has tapped into weekly demand. Okay? Through a level of imbalance. Tapped into the weekly. It tapped into the daily view right here as well. Okay? And then actually what happened if we just zoom it back in a little bit, do y'all see how this wick right here tapped into the weekly, the larger box, and the daily, the little bit smaller box right here? Well, this wick then created its own level of demand, which is a 15-minute and 30-minute demand levels down here. Okay, and I know I just got a little crazy on y'all there. Okay, but that's what these other boxes are down here. Let's pump it back out to the weekly because we're about to get in the monthly and 3 month real quick. Okay. We talked about how this essentially needs to be the level. If we want to get the relief rally, I would like it to see it off this level for multiple reasons. Okay, we have the weekly, we have the daily demand. It tapped into this level. Down here, there is a little bit extra level of imbalance in demand that maybe we sweep that and come back up. But I'm not talking about the full higher time frame reversal, bottom of the bear market, whatever. Okay, I'm not saying that, down here needs to play the bottom where that's going to send us to 200K. Okay? That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying and what I would like to see is that if we are going to get some type of proper relief rally, that it's more than just a wick reaction from 60K to essentially 70, 71K, where we do go and test 74, we do go and maybe test 80, that I would like to see it happen off of this level before essentially we broke down from 58, 59. Okay, because if we come down to this level and we do sweep it, it's kind of bittersweet. In one sense, okay, in one sense, we are breaking into what optimal entry is. And let me pump this out to a month now. Okay. Same exact thing, guys. Same exact thing. Okay, this is all fractal, like I said. We had the 1 month break of structure. 1 month break of structure. What would be the optimal point of interest, optimal entry be? It's this highlighted green box right here. Okay, I highlighted that for you on the chart, as well as some monthly and much higher time frame demand levels. Okay, so what I'm saying here is that if this level were to break, it would be bittersweet. One, because we are coming into this level, which could potentially be our overall potential bottom reversal level. Okay, this isn't saying when price will reverse. Let's get this clear. It's not when price will reverse. It is where price could reverse, right? So I'm not saying that this is guaranteed just because this is the optimal level, the optimal trade entry, optimal point of interest right here that, has worked, fractally on multiple time frames. It's the same exact thing. Just because that's where it is doesn't mean that is when price will reverse. That is just saying where price could reverse. So it's a where, it's a location, not a when. It's not time based. That's not saying it's in here now. It is going to reverse. Not when, it's where it could reverse. Okay, so let's get that clear, because this could always fail, just like any of these could have always failed, right? This could have failed and just kept going. Okay, but let's get back to the point here. It would be bittersweet because in one sense we are tapping to this where this bottom could be, and maybe we react off this demand, or maybe we have to come back even lower, clear out this other imbalance and come back into lower levels of demand here. Okay, so in one sense we would see that before any type of real reversal. But if that were to happen on total market cap in comparison to Bitcoin, Bitcoin has this other level below it. Okay, so on a weekly view, Bitcoin has this other level right below it. Okay, this other level of demand, which is 3-day demand. It's 3-day and 1 day down here. Slightly more imbalance, leading it to 3-day demand, and then this is a 1-day box right here. Okay, I wouldn't say that that's as strong as what this weekly level is right here, but you never know. Okay, it's going into optimal trade entry. It's going into this imbalance, more demand. Maybe you just get a little sweep ski here and it comes back up. Okay, which if that were to do that on a daily or hourly view, then on a weekly it would just be a wick, and we'd be gravy here on total market cap, where we could just have a wick and then it comes back up. But what I'm saying here and what I'm getting at for this long-winded point, apologies, is that there is not the extra level of demand here with imbalance. Okay, if you look at the 3-day, where the 3-day on Bitcoin had this extra level of imbalance that led into further levels of demand. Total market cap does not have that. So what I'm getting at is that my worry would be is that if price action were to get below this level for total market cap and close and clear out this level of demand and essentially void it out, that whether that means that price action is either going to immediately just continue through it, or you get some type of reversal before it comes through it again. Essentially what I'm getting at is that my worry would be that if this demand level breaks at some extent, whether it's immediately or some type of relief before it happens, is that it's going to come lower, right? It essentially opens the floodgate for this high and this high to be broken. Because just like the same thing I was just talking about on these lower time frames, right? Where you have clean traffic from here to here. Oh gosh, now I'm getting crazy. It's late in the stream. I'm getting crazy. Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm getting crazy, right? Just like we talked about from here to here, this is all efficient price action. There's no further levels of imbalance or supply to stop us. It's the same thing with this. Below this, at least on these higher time frames, there is no further level of imbalance. There is no further levels of demand to hold up price until, you know, we would break this high. It essentially opens the floodgate, breaking this, to come down and at least hit here. I would imagine if we do that, then we're coming down and testing, you know, this level down here, right? Clearing out further levels of imbalance, but you never know. And that would essentially coincide with Bitcoin likely coming down into this level and seeing what, you know, we could do. Okay. This low on Bitcoin is this low on total cap. So breaking that low on total cap, again, it's not a 1-for-1 because you have a lot of odds that play into this total market cap. But it'd essentially be saying, you know, Bitcoin's at least going to come into this one, maybe even coming and testing this higher 1 month, you know, box, 1 week box down in here. Okay, which is like mid to low-ish 40s. Okay, and that is where I'm saying where a potential bear market bottom, Jeffrey Epstein's a creator of Bitcoin bottom could be. Okay, that's what I'm saying, is that this is where it could be. Not when it will be, or it's definitively here. Sure, I mean, like, absolutely, price could, you know, come down to lower levels. Sure, I'm not willing to open that can of worms yet or talk about that because I don't quite see that in the cards yet, and there'd be a lot of work to do that. Just like we have a bunch of work to come back up in here and start testing these highs again at, you know, 100 above 100K. We have a lot of work to start testing below that. Okay. But that's essentially what I'm getting at, guys. If we want to have a proper relief rally, I would like it to see it happen off this level. Maybe even we just sweep this low and come down to, you know, 58, 59. Okay, I'd be good with that. Or, okay, maybe we just do a little quickie down here. Just, you know, a couple hours maybe, a few hours. And test this and come back up. But I just don't want to see acceptance below here on total cap because, again, my worry is acceptance below here with not a little quickie, not some quickie action in and out. But acceptance below here would, you know, essentially start opening the floodgate to these lows getting taken, okay? Because we have no further level of imbalance, no further levels of demand to help us out down there, okay? And that's it essentially what we're looking at, guys. If you have a question, throw it in the comments. Let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to go back to these lower time frames and to see what we're looking at here. And not much has changed. We're still just diddling in the middle here. We did discuss the trade entry of how we would have pinpointed that. And just if you're coming in late to the stream, we talked about how you could have pinpointed your entry because off this move, based off this internal action within our larger range, we have this leg of price action, which is internal price action within the range. And we would be looking for it to react off of lower demand levels right here, which it did. It cleared out this imbalance, reacted off demand, and it popped back up. Where would we be looking for that to go to optimal trade entry right here? Once it hit that level, you'd be looking for a standard confirmation to get a continuation entry off this. Okay, standard confirmation. Once we had this internal change of character, right? Break of structure here, close above. Internal change of character, where would you then be looking? So now we're looking for price action to come back into optimal trade entry of optimal trade entry. Okay, do y'all see that? Optimal trade entry zone of the optimal trade entry zone. Okay. And then once it did that, this is just your trigger entry. You don't standard confirm on a standard confirm, okay? It came and touched this level, right? touch this optimal entry, this green box. Once it did that, then you look for your standard confirmation and then come back into this level, okay, this green box. And once it touches that, boom, that's your entry. You don't standard confirm it again, or else you're just standard confirming and standard confirming, standard confirming, and you're never going to get in. You're never going to get in, okay? So that would have been your entry, and we talked about how you just would have smacked her right there, and you could have had above, you know, the trading entry above right there, you know, whatever it is. But pretty much you would essentially put it above like these highs right here, because again, there is no other level of imbalance. There is no other level of supply. So essentially, really, you know, above this high, and there's no reason to be in the trade because it's wrong, because it's probably going to break this high and come up and retest this entry level up here. And this would have been your first target down here. Essentially, these lows essentially already made it down there, and between that could have been between a 6 and a 3R trade, depending on how high you set that stop loss, right? But essentially, like I said, this is all clean action. You don't really need it higher, because if it breaks that high, it's going to come and probably break all these other ones. And we discussed all that. And that's all just internal fractal action off of this current trade and off of what the current range is, okay? But if we look at it just from a 2 hour, 1 hour, 3 hour standpoint, this is all just kind of middle diddle and not too much going on here, guys. So that's essentially it. I don't have a live trade for y'all at the moment, because essentially if I were to live trade, I wouldn't want anything. We discussed how, you know, maybe you could get some type of reaction down here, and y'all can go ahead and mark these levels on your charts just to have them for maybe later today, maybe later tomorrow, who knows. There is a level of imbalance here with a level of demand. Below this, there is no other levels of inefficiencies or imbalance. And this is the reaction off what has already been cleared out as imbalance off this liquidity sweep down here that essentially catapulted price up back on Tuesday, last Tuesday. And it already came into this level of demand, okay? And now essentially you're looking for a reaction off that, right? So this reaction caused this reaction, and then you'd be looking for this reaction to cause this reaction, okay? I don't like it as much, again, one, because the overarching theme is downtrending, right? I'm not looking to take internal reversals necessarily. You could do them for a shorter term scalp trades, right? Like micro trades within the range, right? From here to here or here, maybe. But I wouldn't necessarily be expecting those to take you all the way up. I'd more so be looking to continue the shorts down, why the overarching theme is downtrending market until our lower time frame 1 hour, 2 hour protected high up here is broken. Okay, but these are the levels, so let's look at them. If this breaks, again, this is clean traffic now. We've talked about what clean traffic is. Again, no levels of imbalance or demand from this low to this low. This is all efficient now. If this low were to break, we would expect that low to break. If this demand fails, barring some other maybe little tiny ski levels in here, like this one right here on the 15-minute chart, maybe that gets touched, okay? But barring that, below that, that's, you know, efficient price action. So this demand fails, you would expect that to get hit. And if that gets hit, then there's this clean traffic down to here. We would expect that to get hit. And maybe we come down and test this 15-minute demand level off this wick. What originally caused this reaction was off of a 30-minute demand level. Let me show you all that. 30-minute demand level right here, imbalance, 30-minute demand candle right here. That is what caused this initial reaction after it hit this box with the liquidity sweep turbo booster. Was a nice move up, but all it led it to was the top of the range within a downtrending market, making lower lows and lower highs. It just made for a really nice short entry, and now we're dealing in the middle and potentially just laid out how you could have got into a continuation trade over the weekend. Okay, so these are the levels within the range. You have demand here, those fail. It doesn't look too good for these levels to hold, barring another whatever sweep. We come up to the top of the range. This is the interesting level up here, okay? Particularly on like a 1 hour chart and a 4 hour chart. It is quite interesting because we talked about how we have, and depending on your exchange, exactly how equal these highs are, okay? On this exchange, they're, you know, relatively equal. On another exchange, they're almost perfectly equal. Okay. So again, the exchange dependent, but either way, there's still level of imbalance, even if it's just minute on this exchange like that. There's still level of imbalance right here, particularly on the 4 hour, 1 hour, 2 hour. So I would be interested to see what happens at this level if price were to come back up here. I would expect this level to hold, right? I would expect this demand to react again, but if it doesn't, that's where we flip bullish and everything we talked about earlier in the stream could take place. And that's what we're essentially looking at, guys. We are in a downtrend, right? An hourly downtrend break of structure. This was our previous range. Once we broke structure, we have a new range. We would expect that continuation to follow through until it doesn't, right? So essentially, break of structure. This was our range, break of structure, created a new range. Again, essentially what we'd be looking for is another break of structure, and then we create a new range. Okay, and whatever, you know, wherever that low takes place, that's what we'd be looking for. And now we have a new range. Okay, range, new range, new range, and we're just downtrending, making lower lows and lower highs until we don't. Okay, until one of these protected highs, what we were looking for in the old range was this old protected high. Now this is a protected high. That breaks, that's where we get this lower time frame reversal, and we're talking 74 to 80K. Until that happens, you're looking at range continuation, right? Market structure continuation downwards, okay? That's what we're looking at, guys. If you have a question, throw it in the comments. Give me a like. Subscribe. Don't miss these live streams. Do not miss these live streams. You got me? You hear me? Throw a like. Hit me up on Twitter. Make sure you're following the Twitter as well. That's where I'm posting the live trades if they're not here on the live stream. Otherwise, I think I'm going to call it quits right there, guys. Blue out.
Scared money don't make no money. A scared man don't make no money. Scared money don't make no money. A scared man don't make no money. Scared money don't make no money. A scared man don't make no money. Scared money don't make no money. A scared man don't make no money. Scared money don't make no money. Don't be scared, make a move. A scared man don't make no money. You ain't got shit to lose. Scared money don't make no money. Go on and put that trade in. A scared man don't make no money. It's time to get paid. You win some, you lose some. But you live to trade another day, live to make another play. Patience is a virtue, finna cash out any day. Stacked it to the ceiling, now I park my cars in valet. Move, bitch, get out the way. Charging that shit like a bull. Call me Scotty Pippen, cause these pips, they keep my wallet full. Bank account on overflow, now I'm down in Tokyo. Me and Flop and Groper stung the market like a Scorpio. Bullish like a rodeo, feel like I hit the lottery. Crypto face, man, already making history. Yep, you gon' remember me from trading pairs perfectly. My faith in market cipher B, double hump diversity. While you trade nervously, adding to your misery. Go and take some notes, better yet, why don't you follow me? Stay tuned, I'ma let you see how I rate these millies in. Save this video and make a playlist, call it Bullish Trends. Scared money don't make no money. Don't be scared, make a move. A scared man don't make no money. You ain't got shit to lose. Scared money don't make no money. Go on and put that trade in. A scared man don't make no money. It's time to get paid. Scared money don't make no money. Don't be scared, make a move. A scared man don't make no money. You ain't got shit to lose. Scared money don't make no money. Go on and put that trade in. A scared man don't make no money. It's time to get paid. A scared man don't make no money. That's the way the game go. Gotta make investments if you wanna see your money grow. Scared man don't make no money. Go on and put that money up. Invest it in yourself.